Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Today I'm speaking with the Venerable Monk from the Colombo Dhamma Friends branch of Mahamana Buddhist Monastery.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you some basic questions about Buddhism and this monastery. So in the West, we have lots of ideas about Buddhism, but very few Buddhist monks. So I was wondering what, in brief, is Buddhism and what is the purpose of the sangha of monks?
So, Arthur, so first of all, I'm happy that I was invited to have a discussion with you, and you decided to come here to clarify your questions and spend time with us and learn the Buddha's teachings to fulfill your and to complete your assignments. And I'm grateful to have you here because you dedicated your time and you had trust in the monks, and you came here. You came all the way from America, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And to spend time in a meaningful way in Sri Lanka to learn the Buddha's teachings.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, well, the importance of Buddhism, and now in West, people have various ideas about Buddhism, and but very few monks.
Yes.
Yeah. So now there is a nice sutta called Theravada Sutta. Theravada Sutta. So first of all, I would like to tell you that when you ask questions, I will be answering them from the Buddha's teachings, from the Buddha's words. So because I became a monk after hearing the Buddha's meaningful words. So in a Buddha's dispensation, we always keep the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha as the refuge. Sangha is, Buddha is, it's a Buddha. Then the Dhamma is the Buddha's teachings. Sangha is the disciples who have dedicated their lives to practice the Buddha's teachings.
Yeah.
For the first question, what is Buddhism?
Right. It's a big question.
What is Buddhism? So, if you ask this question for 10 days, there are answers for 10 days. If you ask this question for 30 days, yet we have answers. So, in brief, if I were to explain what is Buddhism, I think it's good if the listeners, and for you as well, if we can listen to if we can learn from a sutta. So in that sutta, we can learn exactly what Buddhism is. So in this sutta, it's very special. Some monks, they were ready to go to the western side, and some monks in India, when the Buddha was alive, some monks wanted to go to the west. And then the monks went to the Buddha and worshipped the Buddha and said, "Blessed One, we came to let know the Blessed One, remind the Blessed One and get permission to take our leave to move towards the western side." Then the Blessed One asked, "Did you meet Sariputta?" So Sariputta is one of the chief disciples of the Buddha. Then the Blessed One asked, "Did you meet Sariputta?" Then they said, "No, Blessed One, we did not meet Venerable Sariputta. We came to meet the Blessed One." Then Buddha says, bhikkhus, Sariputta is wise. He is one who helps his brothers in the noble life. Then, yes, Venerable Sir, those bhikkhus replied, and they went to meet Venerable Sariputta. And again they reminded Venerable Sariputta, saying that, dear Sir, Venerable Sariputta, we wish to go to the western province in order to take up residence there. We have taken leave of the teacher. Who is the teacher? The Blessed One. So, and then Venerable Sariputta says, friends, there are wise Katyas, wise Brahmins, wise householders and wise ascetics who question a bhikkhu when he has gone abroad. Now, if I come to your country, won't you question me? Huh?
Yes.
So, Venerable Sariputta said, now they are also getting ready to go to a different place. Then Venerable Sariputta said, if you are going to a different place, remember, people will question you.
Right.
So, he categorized the people, Katyas, Brahmins, householders and ascetics. So, then Venerable Sariputta said, for wise people, friends, are inquisitive. Now, aren't you inquisitive to know what is Buddhism?
Yes.
Yeah. What does your teacher say? What does he teach? Now, aren't you going to get a good answer for your question?
Yes.
So, Venerable Sariputta trained the monks, dear friends, you will be questioned. So, we should be prepared.
Right.
Then the first question is, what does your teacher say and what does he teach? Then Venerable Sariputta said, I hope that you venerable ones have learned the teachings well, grasped them well, attend to them well, reflected on them well, and penetrated them well with wisdom. So that means after we learn something, we should understand with wisdom.
Right.
Because with the help of our wisdom only we could be able to understand the Buddha's teachings. If not, it's just like pouring water to a pot, there's a hole underneath. Then will water get collected? No. So we should clearly understand with the help of wisdom the Buddha's teachings. Then, so that when you answer, you will state what has been said by the Blessed One and will not misrepresent. That's why I decided to teach you from the suttas.
Right.
Now, these were the advices given by our chief disciples. So, we should be humble and obedient to share the Buddha's knowledge with you. So, Venerable Sariputta said, will not misrepresent him with his contrary to fact, so that you will explain it in accordance with the Dhamma, and no reasonable consequences of your assertion would give ground for criticism. So whatever I tell you should not ground to any criticism. So that whatever you will learn will be useful, not personal ideas.
Right.
Then the bhikkhu said, now see the value of bhikkhus. We would come from far away, friend, to learn the meaning of this statement from the Venerable Sariputta. Far means it could be, today it could be 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, it could be a long trip like you took from America.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So that much valuable. Then we would come from far away, friend, to learn the meaning of this statement from the Venerable Sariputta. It would be good indeed if Venerable Sariputta would clear up the meaning of this statement. So those monks were wise.
Right.
Then listen and attend closely, friends. I will speak. Yes, friend, those bhikkhus replied. The Venerable Sariputta said this. So, for the first question, Venerable Sariputta says, the first question is, or what Arahant Sariputta said was, if when they go abroad, people might ask these questions. People might ask questions. So, the first question that Arahant Sariputta decided was, what does your teacher say? What does he teach? So, being asked this, friends, you should answer, our teacher teaches the removal of desire and lust. So, our Buddhism teaches the removal of desire and lust. So desires, you know the meaning, right?
Yes.
So what kind of idea you have towards the word lust?
I think
Lust.
lust generally has like a sexual connotation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually sometimes we use that word to explain things that are related to sexual activities as well. But then in Pali you call it raga. So it could be lust towards food as well.
Ah, okay.
Passion towards food.
Right.
So lust towards the food and various things in the world. So it's another word, well, a different way of telling things that you have some attraction towards something.
Right.
You are attached to something. So in a lustful way. So then the first answer is, for the first question, what does your teacher teach us, is it's the teachings taught for the removal of desire and lust. So that's the first answer. So the first question now you know, and the answer also you know, right?
Yes.
So the Buddha teaches the removal of desire and lust. And now you know the meaning of two words. Then what happened? Venerable Sariputta, now Venerable Sariputta is the one who's teaching this, not the Buddha.
Right.
Then imagine the wisdom, how much wise Venerable Sariputta was.
Yes.
So then Venerable Sariputta says, now dear friends, so when you answer that Buddha teaches the removal of desire and lust, then they would ask you for the second time, towards what we should remove the desire and lust.
Right.
Then how could we answer? Then Venerable Sariputta explains, the teacher teaches the removal of desire and lust for the forms, for the feelings,
Right.
towards the feelings, then towards the perceptions, then towards the volitional formations, towards the consciousness. Now the last three things might not be clear, but the first one is clear, forms, even our body. So whatever the desire and lust that we have towards the body should be removed.
Right.
Then whatever the desire and lust that we have towards the feelings should be abandoned. Because if we are attached to a feeling, what happens when we lose that feeling? Suppose we are attached to a pleasant feeling,
Right.
and if we lose that pleasant feeling, if we don't get that pleasant feeling anymore, how do we feel? Good or bad?
Not very good.
Not good at all. Because why? We were attached.
Right.
So we can't. So what usually people do is, when it is hot, they fix air condition.
Yes.
and they try to solve the problem.
Yeah.
But then those things, we should take those measures to live happily and peacefully. But then those things are not giving us eternal happiness.
Right. Right.
We should understand the reason for suffering is the lust and desire. Desire and lust towards pleasant things, towards the forms, feelings, perception, volitional formations,
Right.
and consciousness. So the second, when the people ask you towards what we should abandon lust and desire, we should tell that towards the forms, feelings, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness. So do you have any doubts so far regards these 5 things? Any questions?
Well, I think the last of those five aggregates, right? The last are a little bit tricky for someone who doesn't have a background in Buddhism. Like, what is the meaning of volitional formations and consciousness? And
So we have taught the sutta, Theravada sutta. Then there's another sutta called Bija sutta. So from those suttas, people can learn about those things. But for now, just to understand that we should abandon the lust and desire, forms and feelings is more than enough, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So the second answer is towards the forms and feelings we should abandon the desire. Then Venerable Sariputta explains, being asked this, friends, now what happens? Then the third question. Venerable Sariputta said, now you will answer, saying that we should remove the desire and lust towards the feelings, forms, feelings and on. Then they would ask you, wise ascetics will question you further like this. Having seen, what danger does your teacher teach the removal of desire and lust for form and the other things?
Right.
Seeing what danger on those things.
What danger?
What danger? So what kind of danger is there in form, having
Right.
having
Like
lust
what's wrong
towards
with
form?
being attached to
Was
form?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now see the proper training of a Buddha Sasana.
Yeah.
Now see how monks are being trained in
Mm.
Buddhism, in a Buddha's teachings. So then the third answer is, the third question is, what's the danger?
Right.
What kind of danger is there to remove the lust and desire towards the form? Then Venerable Sariputta explains, see very clearly he explains, now when one is not devoid of lust, that means when one is not avoid from lust, desire, affection, thirst, passion and craving in regard to form. So imagine now lust, desire, affection, thirst, passion and craving regard to form. Then with the change and alteration of form, there arise one, sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair.
Right.
So if we are attached to something, then will we suffer.
When something changes. Or,
So
right.
once we are attached and when those things changes, we can't bear it, we
Right.
suffer.
Right.
True or false?
Definitely true. Yes.
Definitely true. So now Buddha has taught a nice simile. You know, if you take a lotus leaf, this experiment we should actually get a lotus leaf to our hand and practice and should see the reality of a lotus leaf. We should take to our hand and do that, this experiment. If you pour water to a lotus leaf, it will slide. The water, the drop of whatever the water that you pour to the lotus leaf will not absorb to the lotus leaf. It will slide. Now if you put water to this cloth, to my robe,
Right.
or to a sponge, what happens?
Absorbs.
It
the water.
absorbs. But then when you pour water to a lotus leaf, it slides and you won't see any, you don't see the lotus leaf. It doesn't get wet. So our mind should be like a lotus leaf that is untouched. So for that we should overcome the attachment towards the external things.
Yes.
So we should live in this world, being detached to each other and with having loving kindness. Now some people might think, we need attachments.
Right.
They think we need attachments. Well, rather than having attachments without being mentally bonded to people, can't we have loving kindness towards all beings? So we should understand that things are not under our control.
Right.
Things are beyond control. So even though we are attached to people, and if they are dying, if they get caught to diseases, our suffering will never cure those problems.
Right.
Our suffering will never help them to cure other people's problem. Now, if someone is cheated, how much he suffer, how much he is awake in the middle of the night, those things will never solve problems in life.
Right.
So, if that people expect being attached, is it useful for their lives?
Yeah.
Not useful.
Well, but if the purpose of the teaching is to remove suffering, don't you think that in certain cases, like being attached to another person's well-being would help you make you help them?
That's why here when you use the word attachment, we should understand the meaning.
Right, right.
Here attachment means, if you take this, because Buddha taught this Dhamma in Pali. So the moment when you use the word attachment, we should understand that, okay, here in Buddhism when we talk about attachment, it is having a wrong understanding about your life and other people's lives.
Yes.
Here attachment is people take things as under their control.
So you could still care for the suffering of another, but understand that they're
understanding that,
out of
okay,
their control.
it's not under my control. So here the word, when you use attachment in Buddhism, we should understand that the meaning of attachment is a person thinks that things are permanent, things are under his control, and things are subjected to suffering. Things are subjected to happiness.
Yes.
That is not.
Right.
People think that things are subjected to happiness, which is not. Things are subjected to suffering. Why? Things are changing.
Right.
Things are not under our control. It's a wrong understanding. So when we use attachments in Buddhism, we should be very careful.
Yeah.
So on behalf of attachments, we should have loving kindness with the knowledge of impermanence nature.
Yes.
Then you are detached.
Right.